Need some birthday card ideas? I got you. Hey everyone, it's Cathy Zielske. Welcome back to my channel and the craft slash, oops, dining room. Birthday cards. You need them, you love them. They tend to be a card a lot of us card makers seem to need all the time. So today I have 3 simple ideas for you for birthday cards. They're easy, mostly. They revolve around a single stamp set with some other things added in. Hopefully you can be inspired to create with what you have on hand because the ideas are pretty basic. Stick around, those card projects are coming up next. Here's a quick look at the 3 cards I'll be creating in today's video. All 3 cards incorporate stamps from a single stamp set, and then I worked in a few extra products here and there to finish out the cards. But all 3 are very simple, and hopefully you can recreate using supplies that you already have on hand. Let's jump into the projects. The stamp set I'm using today is called Time to Party. And for card number 1, we're just starting out with a simple balloon. A simple balloon, don't think you have to have a whole bunch. Au contraire, 1 balloon will do ya. And so I'm going to ink this up with a really pretty hot pink ink. This is from Simon Says Stamp. And I'm stamping with my Misty tool today for the very reason that you see here. If you don't get a great impression the first time, you can ink it up and stamp again in the exact same place. I love that about the Misty. It makes card making so much more fun for me. And look at that gorgeous balloon. I'll take the coordinating die, and the other product I'm adding in is a Let's Party Wafer Die word set. I'm cutting out the balloon, I'm cutting out Let's Party, and I'll poke those out so that I have my little greeting, and I cut it out 2 more times. 1 more in white, and then 1 from this matte gold cardstock from Simon Says Stamp. That will be the topper. To glue all these die cuts together, I'm going to use my Micro Dots adhesive sheet. This is a new product for me. I've not used these types of adhesives, and this is wonderful for die cuts. You just burnish over to transfer that glue, the tiny dots, and then you can easily stack and glue your die cuts together for dimension, which is what I love to do to create a greeting that has a little depth and feels more substantial. So I'll layer on the first cardstock layer there, scrape away any extra goozy material. It happens. And then I'll top it with the beautiful gold, just like that. And I will repeat that for the other part off camera for party. I've got a cardstock panel trimmed to 3 3/4 by 5, and this is the Neenah Solar White Classic Crest, which is what I used for the balloon as well. I'm just figuring out the placement of the balloon string, and once I get that on my Misty door, I'll go ahead and ink it up. I'm going to use the color Fossil. I like the idea of just having a neutral gray for the string so that it doesn't draw too much attention to itself. Gently press that down so it doesn't overstamp, and then we are ready to pop the panel down onto a white note card. And this is a US A2, so it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 tall. Pop down my balloon that has a foam square to give it a little dimension. Then I'll take my liquid glue. This is Connect Glue from Gina K Designs, and I have it in one of Gina's little squeeze bottles. I like to use liquid glue for this type of die cut addition to my panels because it lets me wiggle it into place. And my T-square ruler makes it easy to get it on there straight. I'll add more little dots of glue all over the back of the stacked party, and then line that up right underneath so that the serifs on the outside edges of the letter forms are perfectly lined up. And then I'll press that down. Next, I'm going to add in the apostrophe, and rather than try to stack those together, I like to stack them right on to the project itself. So lay one down, add the glue, stack, wiggle into place. It's just so delicate. And then add a little more glue and top it with the matte gold version of the apostrophe. And you now have Let's Party perfectly placed. I'll pop the acrylic block over that and let that adhere. To finish off this card, just 5 gold sequins. 5 is a lovely odd number, and we'll just sprinkle them across the card front for an extra bit of shine. Boop, just like that. card number 1 is done. I love it. For card number 2, I'm going to use the hat from this stamp set. And the hat has 2 parts. There's an outer shape to the hat, which I'm going to ink up and stamp down in the color Surf. I thought it would be nice to use blues and greens on this card. And again, because I have the ability to do it, I'm going to stamp it twice in the same place. Then I filled in with the inside part and I stamped that in Sprout. Thought that was really pretty together. Next, I'll ink up a couple of the hat toppers, again in the Sprout. Wasn't sure if I wanted to go with the large one or the small one. And I figured, well, you know what? You got your supplies out. Let's do them both, because choice is a beautiful thing. All right, I've got the dies taped into place and I cut those out off camera. And now it's time to arrange the card panel for my design. This is also a 3 3/4 by 5. I'm going to powder this up with anti-static powder just so that when I use my embossing powder, the powder only sticks to where the Versamark gets stamped down. I'm inking up my stamp really well and transferring the ink. And because I have everything set up and nothing moved, I'm going to hit it a second time, which is what I like to do whenever I'm using Versamark. Press and transfer. I'm going to use the Brutus Monroe Sterling for this. Sprinkle it on, let it sit for just a second, and tap off the excess. Hit it again, and repeat. Then I'll melt the powder with my heat tool until it is all smooth, shiny, and silvery. Beautiful, and so simple. And there you go, nice and shiny. I thought it would be fun to add just a little more color, so I'm bringing in another product. This is a confetti stencil, but really any kind of stencil that has little dots or circles could work for something like this. I just happen to have one that literally has confetti, and it's actually a 3 stencil set, but I'm only going to use the bigger pieces and lightly blend on some of the same colors that I'm using for the hat. I'm actually taking a really light hand with this, not pressing too hard through the stencil. Then I'm going to flip it, magnet it back down into place, and grab the other color, which was the Seafoam. I'm tapping off the excess and blending it on. I just thought it would be, and I'm putting my hand there just so that I don't accidentally blend over the edge of the stencil. I could use masking tape, but I figured, you know what, it's going to be so easy to do. And then once I put the hat back into place, I thought maybe there could be a couple more pieces of confetti. So I brought my stencil back in and just filled in a couple areas until I got it exactly how I liked it. Looks good. Now to create the card. I mounted that card panel onto a piece of green apple cardstock from Simon Says Stamp, and I am popping up the hat with some foam squares. I also have a little tiny piece of foam on the hat topper, and I went with the smaller one because I thought scale-wise it worked better than the large. And that's the second birthday card. I decided to skip the sequins, and now we'll move on to the final card. For card 3, I'm going to do some simple ink blending. And I'm using my grip mat from Tonic. I had that in the last video section, but I wanted to talk about it because the nice thing is it holds your cardstock really nicely while you're blending. It also holds your ink pads in place while you're picking up your ink. So this has been a great discovery for me, and I've been using it a ton lately when I'm ink blending. For an ink blend like this does not have to be perfect. In fact, if you're ever struggling for an idea, blend a rainbow for a birthday. They're happy, they're cheery. Nobody technically is supposed to be sad when they're looking at a rainbow. I can't back that up, but that's just my opinion. And this is such an easy thing to do. You don't have to be a master at ink blending. Just take some colors and blend them down. Again, this is the same size panel. It's 3 3/4 inches wide by 5.5 inches tall. And you can go back over any area to blend them a bit more or get that transition going. But once you've got it done, it's time to emboss. Now here's the sandwich I'm using today. I have this Swiss dot embossing folder from Gina K Designs and my Spellbinders machine. I've got one clear plate, one piece of cardstock, and another piece. This is a sandwich that I found works really well with this folder. And I'm placing in my cardstock so that the dots will press up into the pretty side of the cardstock. Get it lined up, and then just place it on the platform and run it through. Sometimes when you have embossing folders, they might have different thicknesses or dimension. You just have to play and test. Not every embossing folder works the same, and I found this to be a fantastic emboss. Look at that. Plus, it's just such a fun way to bring a panel to life in such a simple way. Let's stamp our greeting. I'm going to use Hooray, and I'm stamping this also on some Neenah Solar White Classic Crest in the 110 pound. And I'll powder up with my anti-static powder tool again. Take my Versamark, ink up the stamp really well. Take one pass, transfer the ink, and ink it up a second time, but always make sure you reposition that cardstock just so that it stamps in the exact same place. And press. For this, I'll use Brutus Monroe Gilded Powder. It's really pretty gold. Sprinkle it on, let it sit for a second, and tap, and repeat. All right, now I'm going to take a dry brush and just wipe away any powder that actually stuck. Sometimes it's really staticky, and if you have more powder sticking, even though you use that tool, just wipe it away with a brush. I'll melt this powder, and we have a beautiful, shiny Hooray. Love it. All right, ready for die cutting. For this, I'm just going to use the speech bubble, which I think is really cute, tape that into place, and go ahead and cut that out. I'm going to just adhere this panel directly onto my note card, just adding a little dot runner to the back. I'm not popping it up because what I neglected to tell you is this is 80 pound. I like to dry emboss with 80 pound paper. I find I get better results. So we're putting that right on the panel with all that glorious texture. I'll take the backers off of the foam squares on the greeting, swirl around a little liquid glue just so I can wiggle it and move it a bit if I need to, and press that into place. So simple, but so fun, right? That's just happy. Now, I don't show often what I put on the inside, but it's really easy to just stamp on the inside. Take one of the greetings from your birthday stamps and pop one inside. Now, I like to leave a lot of white space inside my cards because I tend to write a lot when I'm giving a handmade card, so I don't want to stamp too many things in there that get in the way, but I thought stamping this in a little pink ink right here with a block, hold my breath and press, let it transfer, and lift. Nailed it! And there you go. A very simple greeting for the inside. You could give that card to anyone. But before you do, pop down a few shiny sequins just to add a little bit of extra something something to the card. Glue, glue, boop, and done. And that's the finished card project. So much color, so much texture, and the best thing is, easy to create. I hope these cards inspire you today to make some simple birthday cards. They don't have to be over the top. You don't have to use every technique under the sun to create a handmade card that is going to mean a lot to your recipient and that you'll have fun creating as well. You can find links to all the products I used in today's video below in the YouTube description box. I'll see you back here with another card project soon. Thanks so much for watching today. I would love to have you become a subscriber to my YouTube channel. And if you do subscribe, be sure to hit the gray bell below the video so that you don't miss the next time I post. Here are a couple other videos that you might be interested in watching. Thanks so much and have a great day.